In today's video, we dive deep into the incredible life story of one of the most electrifying personalities in entertainment, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. From a childhood filled with struggle and uncertainty, to becoming one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood, his journey is nothing short of inspiring. This is the story of a man who fought through hardship, rejection, and failure, yet rose to global stardom through relentless determination and unshakable belief in himself. Sit back, relax, and let's journey through the life of The Rock. From his early days to worldwide fame, Dwayne Douglas Johnson was born on May 2, 1972, in Hayward, California, but from the very beginning, his life was shaped by movement, uncertainty, and the intense world of professional wrestling. He grew up in a family deeply rooted in wrestling culture, a legacy that brought pride but also a level of instability that few children could handle. His father, Rocky Johnson, was a well-known professional wrestler in the WWF era, traveling constantly, while his mother, Ada Maivia, came from the legendary Anoa'i wrestling family. This meant that Dwayne's childhood was a blend of fame, tradition, and financial instability. As a child, Dwayne often witnessed the sacrifices that came with the wrestling profession. His father spent long stretches on the road, leaving Ada to raise him alone for much of the time. Despite the fame that came with Rocky Johnson's career, the family struggled financially. They moved frequently from California to New Zealand, then to North Carolina, Connecticut, and eventually Hawaii, each move driven by opportunities, job changes, or financial pressure. This constant movement made it difficult for Dwayne to establish lasting friendships or a stable sense of home. He often described himself as a shy kid who kept starting over, again and again, in every new school. When Dwayne was just a young boy, he spent some time living in Auckland, New Zealand, with his mother's family. There, he attended Richmond Road Primary School, a very different world from America. He remembers wearing his cousin's oversized clothes and feeling out of place, but this experience grounded him. It introduced him to the Samoan culture that would later become a huge part of his identity. The sense of family, tradition, and respect he learned in New Zealand stayed with him throughout his life. But not everything in his early years was warm or easy. During the time the family lived in Hawaii, they experienced one of their lowest moments. Money was tight, bills piled up, and the family struggled to stay afloat. One day, when Dwayne was around 14, they came home to find an eviction notice on their apartment door. They had only a week to leave. He still recalls the emotional pain of watching his mother sit silently in the car, tears falling, as she wondered how they would survive. That moment ignited something inside young Dwayne, a fierce determination that he would one day change his family's destiny. Despite the hardships, Dwayne also grew up surrounded by wrestling legends. His uncles, cousins, and extended family members were all involved in the wrestling world. He saw the backstage life, the dedication, the physical toll, and the pride that came with representing the Anoa'i legacy. Even though he didn't plan to become a wrestler at that time, the environment shaped his understanding of discipline and showmanship. As he entered his teenage years, the challenges intensified. The frequent moves meant he was always the new kid, and at a rapid growth rate, he was already 6 feet tall in his early teens. Dwayne stood out in every room he walked into. But his size wasn't always an advantage. As a teenager in Pennsylvania, he experienced anger issues, frustration, and feelings of displacement. He began getting into trouble, including small run-ins with the law. Looking back, he says that at age 15, he was at a crossroads that could have led him down a very dark path. Yet it was in this storm of instability that Dwayne discovered the first major turning point of his life: football. The structure, discipline, and sense of purpose the sport gave him would soon lift him out of trouble and toward a new dream. As Dwayne entered his mid-teens, the instability of constant moving and financial struggle had finally taken a toll. By the time he and his family settled in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, he was larger, stronger, and angrier than most kids his age. At just 15 years old, he already stood around 6 feet 3 inches and weighed over 200 pounds, which made him look like a grown man in a school full of teenagers. Instead of using his size as an advantage, he often used it as a shield, a way to hide the hurt and insecurity he carried from years of watching his family struggle. Life in Bethlehem was not easy. The area had a rough environment, and Dwayne was surrounded by peers who were dealing with their own challenges. Crime, poverty, broken families, and lack of guidance. He fell into a crowd that pushed him toward trouble. He began shoplifting, getting into fights, and lashing out at teachers. By 16, he had been arrested multiple times for petty crimes. At home, tension was constant. His father was often absent due to wrestling commitments, and the pressure of financial problems weighed heavily on his mother. But one incident would change everything. One day, Dwayne walked into the school gym bathroom and came face to face with a man he didn't recognize, a teacher and football coach named Jody Quick. Dwayne had a bad attitude, and his reputation had already spread through the school. Coach Quick confronted him not with fear or anger, but with disappointment and a challenge. Instead of treating Dwayne like a criminal, he treated him like someone who still had value. That moment struck deep. It was the first time in years that an adult looked at him with belief instead of judgment. That conversation turned into mentorship, and mentorship turned into transformation. Under Coach Quick's guidance, Dwayne was encouraged to channel his power, aggression, and frustration into football. And once he stepped onto the field, everything changed. Football became structure. It became an outlet. It became the first environment where he wasn't just the new kid or the big guy. He was someone with potential, with purpose, with something to fight for. He trained relentlessly, pushing himself beyond his limits. Every early morning workout, every sprint, every drill was another step away from the troubled path he had been walking. Coaches took notice of his commitment. Teammates saw his natural leadership. And for the first time in his life, Dwayne tasted what success felt like outside of the wrestling world. His athletic ability exploded. His size, strength, and work ethic made him one of the most promising high school football players in the state. By the end of his time at Freedom High School, he was a standout defensive tackle, powerful, explosive, and fiercely competitive. College scouts began showing interest, giving him a glimpse of a future he never believed he could have. The chance to earn a scholarship and break the cycle of financial struggle his family had endured. But as Dwayne's confidence grew, something else was happening at home. Something that would push him even harder. His family remained on the edge of financial collapse. Rather than breaking him, this fueled him. Whenever he felt tired or discouraged, he remembered the eviction notices, the tears in his mother's eyes, and the chaos that had defined his childhood. He made a silent promise. He would never let his family suffer like that again. His effort paid off. His mix of raw talent and determination earned him multiple scholarship offers. And then came the biggest news. The University of Miami, one of the greatest college football programs in the country, wanted him. This was not just a football opportunity. It was a life-changing ticket out of struggle. At age 18, Dwayne left Pennsylvania and flew to Miami, Florida. Stepping into a new world of elite athletes, intense discipline, and the dream of becoming a professional football player. He was surrounded by future NFL stars, and the competition was unlike anything he had experienced before. But Dwayne embraced the challenge. For the first time in his life, he felt like he truly belonged. He wasn't the troubled kid anymore. He was a young man on the rise. Yet, the journey ahead would not be as smooth as he expected. Miami would bring him glory, heartbreak, rejection, and one of the toughest moments of his life. But these challenges would also shape him into the man the world later came to know. Arriving at the University of Miami was like stepping into another universe for young Dwayne Johnson. The campus, the energy, the athletes. Everything felt bigger, faster, and more intense. The Miami Hurricanes were one of the most dominant college football teams of the era, known for producing NFL legends and demanding absolute excellence. For Dwayne, this was the opportunity of a lifetime. He walked onto that field determined to prove that he belonged. But from the moment he joined the team, he realized just how high the expectations were. He was surrounded by elite athletes, many of whom were faster, stronger, and more experienced. Among them was Warren Sapp, who would later become one of the greatest defensive players in NFL history. The competition was fierce. Every practice was a battlefield, and every play felt like a fight for survival. But instead of shrinking under pressure, Dwayne rose to the challenge. He trained obsessively, lifting weights before sunrise, running drills long after practice ended, and studying plays late into the night. And his effort paid off. In his freshman year, he became the first freshman defensive lineman to start for Miami in decades, a rare achievement that proved he had something special. His teammates respected his work ethic. His coaches saw his potential. And for a moment, it seemed like his dream of becoming an NFL star was within reach. But fate had other plans. During his college journey, Dwayne suffered a devastating back injury. It struck suddenly during a routine practice, a sharp, paralyzing pain that left him motionless for moments that felt like hours. Doctors told him he had suffered a major disc injury. He needed to rest. He needed to heal. But worst of all, he needed to accept that he couldn't play. For someone whose entire future depended on football, it felt like the ground beneath him had disappeared. Months passed. While the team continued playing, Dwayne watched from the sidelines, frustrated, angry, and sinking into a depression he didn't fully understand. He was only in his early 20s, yet he felt his dreams slipping away. He saw other players rise to stardom. Warren Sapp took the starting position and became a sensation. Meanwhile, Dwayne was battling loneliness, fear, and uncertainty. When he finally recovered and returned to the field, he was no longer the unstoppable rising star he once imagined himself to be. The injury had taken its toll. His explosiveness wasn't the same, and his role on the team became limited. But instead of giving up, he learned something deeper: how to lead without being the star player, how to show up even when you feel broken, how to find purpose beyond glory. By the time he graduated, he still held onto the hope of playing professional football. And soon he got an offer not from the NFL but from the CFL, the Canadian Football League, where he signed with the Calgary Stampeders. It wasn't glamorous, but for Dwayne it was a second chance. A chance to chase the dream that had carried him through years of struggle. But the CFL was not what he expected. The pay was low, the conditions were rough, and the competition was brutal. He lived in a tiny apartment, slept on a stained mattress he found outside, and often questioned whether he had made a mistake. He barely had enough money for food, let alone a stable life. And then, just 2 months into the season, he received news that shattered him. He had been cut. No warning, no discussion. Just like that, football, the dream that had saved him as a teenager, was gone. He returned home to Florida with only $7 in his pocket. $7, a number that would later become a symbol in his career. At that moment, however, it was nothing but proof that he had failed. He sank into a deep depression. He didn't know who he was anymore without football. The dream he had chased for years had slipped through his fingers. He felt lost, ashamed, and uncertain about his future. But in this darkness came one of the most important turning points of his life. One morning, Dwayne's father entered his room and tried to talk sense into him, telling him to find a real job and forget about dreams that had clearly collapsed. The conversation turned into an argument, emotionally heavy and painful. That same day, Dwayne made a decision that would change everything. He looked at himself in the mirror and said, "This is not how my story ends." With nowhere else to turn, he considered the one path he had avoided for years: professional wrestling, the family legacy he had once tried to escape. Returning home with nothing but disappointment and $7 in his pocket, Dwayne felt like life had stripped him of every dream he once held. Football, the one path he believed would save his family, was gone. He found himself lost, waking up each morning in silence, unsure where to go next. But it was during this dark period that a new idea began forming, slowly but powerfully. For years, Dwayne had resisted becoming a professional wrestler. He grew up watching his father, Rocky Johnson, and his grandfather, Peter Maivia, live the wrestling life. The constant travel, the sacrifices, the unpredictability. He had seen the smiles in the ring and the exhaustion outside of it. That life was not what he wanted. But now, with no job, no money, and no direction, he realized that wrestling might be the only door still open. It wasn't his first dream, but it might be the dream that was meant for him. Finally, he approached his father with a bold statement. "I want to become a wrestler." To Dwayne's surprise, Rocky Johnson did not support the idea. In fact, he opposed it strongly. He knew the hardships of the wrestling world and didn't want his son experiencing the same pain. But Dwayne was firm. He wasn't asking for permission. He was asking for guidance. After days of tension and silence, Rocky agreed to train him, but it wouldn't be easy. Training with Rocky Johnson was brutal. It wasn't like football workouts or college drills. This was a completely different world. The wrestling ring was unforgiving. Every fall felt like hitting concrete. Every move required precision, timing, and resilience. Dwayne trained for hours every day, learning how to take bumps, how to flip, how to land, how to sell hits convincingly, and how to protect both himself and his opponent. Rocky pushed him to the limit, shouting instructions, correcting his mistakes, and demanding perfection. But beyond the physical pain, there was emotional weight. Dwayne was carrying the pressure of an entire family legacy. He wasn't just another young wrestler. He was the son of Rocky Johnson and the grandson of Peter Maivia. Expectations were sky-high. Some people doubted him, thinking he was only getting opportunities because of his family name. Others believed he couldn't live up to the legacy. Still, Dwayne kept pushing. After months of intense training, he finally got his chance. He signed with WWE, then WWF, and made his debut in 1996 under the ring name Rocky Maivia. The name combined his father's and grandfather's names, a tribute to his heritage, but also a heavy burden. WWE promoted him as a smiling, clean-cut, good guy, a babyface character meant to charm fans. He wore bright blue ring gear, came to the ring full of enthusiasm, and played the role exactly as management wanted. But something unexpected happened. The fans hated him. They booed him loudly. They chanted, "Rocky sucks." They made signs mocking him. The WWE audience didn't want a happy, smiling hero. They felt Rocky Maivia was forced, fake, and too perfect. The more WWE pushed him, the more the crowd rejected him. It got so bad that he was booed during matches and even after victories. Every arena he walked into felt like a reminder that he wasn't connecting with the audience, and it hurt deeply. The pressure mounted. The negativity grew louder. And then, during a match, Rocky suffered another major setback. A severe knee injury that took him out of action for months. Sitting at home, unable to wrestle and with fans rejecting him, Dwayne thought about quitting. He had failed at football. Now he felt like he was failing in wrestling too. But once again, he refused to give up. Instead of quitting, Dwayne returned with a new idea, an idea that would change everything. He asked WWE for freedom. Freedom to speak in his own voice. Freedom to act as himself. Freedom to stop pretending to be the smiling hero and show the world who he really was. They agreed. And when he came back, he dropped the forced attitude, embraced his confidence, his charisma, his humor, and began calling himself The Rock. This was the turning point. This was the moment the world started paying attention. But his rise to stardom was only just beginning. When Dwayne Johnson returned from his injury, he stepped back into the WWE not as Rocky Maivia, the smiling babyface, but as someone entirely different. Someone real, unapologetic, and fearless. He came back with a swagger the world had never seen from him before. Gone was the forced positivity and the scripted smiles. Instead, he stood before the audience with total confidence and delivered a simple, powerful message. I am The Rock. The transformation was immediate. For the first time, Dwayne felt like he wasn't playing a character. He was embracing his true personality. The Rock spoke differently, walked differently, moved differently. He carried himself like someone who knew exactly who he was and didn't need permission from anyone to shine. His promos became electric. His voice carried authority, rhythm, and attitude. He mixed humor, arrogance, and intensity in a way that made the crowd hang onto every word he said. At first, fans didn't know what to make of him. But as The Rock continued to speak his mind, something incredible happened. The same crowds that once booed him began cheering. They loved his unpredictability, his confidence, and his raw charisma. They loved the way he insulted opponents with sharp, comedic lines that felt like stand-up comedy. They loved the catchphrases he invented on the spot, phrases that would soon become legendary. The Rock introduced a new wrestling language. Finally, The Rock has come back. Electrified arenas. "Know your role and shut your mouth" became a cultural anthem. Layeth the SmackDown even inspired WWE to create a whole show named SmackDown. And of course, the iconic question, if you smell what The Rock is cooking? He wasn't just a wrestler anymore. He was a performer, an entertainer, a showman with unmatched charisma. Every time he picked up the microphone, the audience erupted. Every time he raised his eyebrow, famously called the people's eyebrow, the crowd exploded in cheers. Even his insults became crowd favorites. He made language entertaining, using phrases that fans everywhere repeated in schoolyards, locker rooms, and homes around the world. As his popularity exploded, WWE began featuring him in bigger storylines and championship matches. He joined the Nation of Domination, a villainous group that allowed him to sharpen his on-screen arrogance even more. But eventually, he outgrew the group and turned against its leader, Farouk, solidifying himself as a rising star capable of carrying a show all on his own. His breakthrough moment came when he won the Intercontinental Championship, marking the beginning of his rise to the top. The Rock's energy was infectious, and his in-ring performance matched his mic skills. He could be funny one moment, aggressive the next, and emotional moments later. He had become the complete package, athletic, charismatic, and unforgettable. But the true test came when he entered one of the greatest rivalries in WWE history, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. This rivalry defined an entire era, the Attitude Era, and is still remembered as one of the most iconic feuds of all time. The Rock represented flashy charisma and sharp wit, while Austin embodied rebellious rage and anti-authority spirit. Their chemistry was unmatched. Every stare-down, every promo, every match between them created history. Their battles at WrestleMania became legendary. These matches weren't just about championships. They were about two titans fighting for the soul of wrestling entertainment. Fans were split. Some loved The Rock's style, others cheered for Austin's rebellion, but everyone watched. During this period, The Rock also engaged in unforgettable feuds with Triple H, Mankind, The Undertaker, and Kane. His rivalry with Mankind was especially important, showcasing his ability to blend brutality with storytelling. Their I Quit match, their televised battles, and their comedic backstage segments created some of WWE's most memorable moments. But beyond the feuds and entertainment, what made The Rock special was his connection with the people. He called himself the People's Champion, not because it was a catchy slogan, but because fans genuinely loved him. His performances felt personal. His energy felt real. And his journey, from being booed in arenas to becoming one of the most beloved wrestlers on the planet, inspired millions. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, The Rock had reached the top of the wrestling world. He became WWE champion multiple times, headlined major events, and carried the company during one of its most competitive eras. His presence on TV boosted ratings. His merchandise flew off shelves, and everywhere he went, crowds chanted his name. But outside the wrestling ring, something else was happening. Something that would change the course of his life once again. Hollywood had started paying attention. His natural charisma, comedic timing, and star power were impossible to ignore. Producers saw in him what wrestling fans had known for years. He had the potential to become a global superstar. And soon, an opportunity would come along that would push him from the squared circle into the world of movies, where his legacy would grow even bigger. As The Rock dominated the wrestling world, something interesting began happening behind the scenes. Hollywood started calling. Producers, directors, and casting agents were drawn to his presence. The way he commanded attention, the rhythm of his speech, the humor that flowed naturally, and the undeniable charisma that lit up every arena. He didn't just perform in WWE. He owned every moment. And Hollywood realized that this kind of magnetic energy was rare. His first taste of acting came in small guest appearances, roles that allowed him to test the waters without stepping fully outside wrestling. One of the earliest was in the TV show That 70s Show, where he played his own father, Rocky Johnson. Even in that brief role, audiences instantly felt his charm. Soon after, he appeared on Star Trek Voyager as an alien gladiator, and again the reaction was overwhelmingly positive. These were small opportunities, but they opened a door that would soon turn into a career-changing gateway. The big break came in 2001 when he was cast as the powerful Scorpion King in The Mummy Returns. Even though he had only a few minutes of screen time, his impact was enormous. He brought intensity, mystery, and physical presence to the role, and audiences were fascinated. The success of the character was so strong that Universal Pictures decided to give him his own movie. In 2002, Dwayne Johnson starred in The Scorpion King, and it became a milestone moment, not just for him, but for Hollywood history. He was paid $5.5 million, the highest salary ever awarded to an actor for their first starring role. It was a massive gamble for the studio, but they believed in him, and The Rock delivered. The film became a box office hit, proving that his appeal extended far beyond the wrestling world. But with this success came a new challenge. Could he sustain it? Many athletes had dabbled in acting before, but few managed to build long, successful careers. Hollywood is unpredictable, and fans can be unforgiving. Dwayne knew that if he wanted a place at the table, he would have to work as hard as, if not harder than, he did in WWE. So he did what he always did when faced with doubt. He reinvented himself. Throughout the early 2000s, Dwayne took on a variety of roles to show that he wasn't just an action star. He was an actor with range. In The Rundown, he showed humor and charm. In Walking Tall, he displayed emotional depth. In Gridiron Gang, he proved he could carry dramatic, inspiring stories. And in Be Cool, he surprised everyone by playing a flamboyant, comedic character. A performance that revealed a side of him Hollywood hadn't seen before. But this journey wasn't smooth. As his acting career grew, he faced criticism from wrestling fans who accused him of abandoning WWE. Some Hollywood executives weren't fully convinced he could succeed long-term. And to add to the obstacles, he found himself caught between two industries, trying to prove himself in both. During this period, he made an important decision. He officially transitioned from his wrestling name, The Rock, to his real name, Dwayne Johnson. It was a symbolic moment, a declaration that he wasn't just a wrestler trying to act. He was an actor building a new identity. This change required courage because it meant stepping out of the comfort of his already established fame. Despite the challenges, Dwayne kept moving forward. He accepted roles that pushed him beyond the stereotype of the tough guy. He trained harder, studied acting, and surrounded himself with mentors who guided him through Hollywood's complexities. Over time, his dedication began to pay off. Projects that once seemed out of reach became possible. Studios recognized his work ethic. Fans embraced his growth. Then, in 2011, he landed the role that would elevate him to a whole new level of global stardom. Luke Hobbs in the Fast and Furious franchise. His debut in Fast 5 was explosive. He brought raw intensity to the screen. A perfect blend of aggression, humor, and unstoppable power. His presence breathed new life into the franchise, and millions of fans around the world loved it. Through this role, Dwayne Johnson crossed over from being a rising movie star to a full-fledged global action icon. But he wasn't done. Not even close. He soon became known for blockbuster after blockbuster: Jumanji, Hercules, San Andreas, Rampage, Moana, and many more. He showed the world that he wasn't defined by one role, one genre, or one industry. He could make people laugh, thrill them with action, inspire them with emotion, and even move them with heartfelt performances. Hollywood had not just accepted him, it had embraced him. But behind every Hollywood success story lies a deeper journey of personal growth. For Dwayne, fame was only part of the story. What truly mattered was how he used his platform, how he redefined himself, and how he continued chasing greatness despite every obstacle. By the mid-2010s, Dwayne Johnson had cemented himself as more than just an action star. He had become a global phenomenon. His journey from troubled teenager to wrestling superstar to Hollywood icon was already remarkable. But what set him apart was the way he carried his fame. Unlike many celebrities, Dwayne used his platform with intention. He connected with fans personally, sharing his life openly on social media, showing both his victories and his struggles. Fans didn't just admire him for his films or wrestling. They admired him for his authenticity, humility, and relentless work ethic. As his acting career soared, he didn't abandon business or his entrepreneurial spirit. Dwayne launched Project Rock, a lifestyle and apparel brand in partnership with Under Armour, showcasing his dedication to fitness, training, and motivation. He created 7 Bucks Productions, named after the $7 he had in his pocket when he returned home after football failure, a symbol of humble beginnings and relentless determination. This company allowed him to produce his own films and content, giving him creative control over the stories he wanted to tell. Through these ventures, Dwayne built a business empire, proving he could dominate not only on screen but also behind the scenes. Despite the glitz, wealth, and global recognition, Dwayne's personal life remained a constant balancing act. He navigated high-profile relationships, fatherhood, and the challenges of fame with transparency. He often spoke publicly about his struggles with depression, his battles with self-doubt, and the immense pressure of living up to the expectations placed on him as a man, father, and public figure. He admitted that even though his life looked perfect to the outside world, the journey to get there involved countless nights of uncertainty, fear, and introspection. Through all of this, he remained intensely disciplined. His daily routines became legendary. Grueling workouts before dawn, hours spent studying scripts, family time, and creative brainstorming. He inspired millions with his motto, blood, sweat, and respect. The first 2 you give, the last one you earn. His story resonated because it wasn't just about fame or money. It was about hard work, resilience, and refusing to give up, no matter the odds. In addition to business and fitness, Dwayne became a cultural icon for representation and positivity. As a man of Samoan heritage, he proudly embraced his roots, often highlighting his culture in interviews, films, and social media. He became a role model for young people of all backgrounds, demonstrating that success is not just measured by wealth or status, but by impact, character, and authenticity. His rise also highlighted the power of reinvention. How a young boy who struggled with identity, anger, and failure could transform into someone admired worldwide. The Rock's influence extended beyond entertainment and business. He became a philanthropist, using his resources and visibility to give back to communities, support children's hospitals, and empower youth. He spoke candidly about his desire to leave a legacy, not just of fame, but of inspiration and hope. By the late 2010s and into the 2020s, Dwayne Johnson was more than a movie star. He was a symbol of perseverance, discipline, and reinvention. His name became synonymous with success achieved through relentless effort, charm, and unwavering dedication. From the streets of Pennsylvania to the wrestling arenas of the world, and finally to Hollywood and global recognition, Dwayne's journey reflected the essence of a true modern icon. Yet, even with all the success, he continued to chase new challenges. From producing, acting, launching new business ventures, to inspiring millions daily. The story of The Rock isn't just about entertainment or fame. It's a story about human potential, resilience, and the power of believing in yourself even when life seems determined to knock you down. By the 2020s, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had become more than an entertainer, athlete, or businessman. He had become a symbol of perseverance, determination, and authenticity. His legacy is not measured solely by championship belts or box office numbers, but by the profound impact he has had on millions of people worldwide. From humble beginnings, he showed that it is possible to transform adversity into success and failure into opportunity, teaching lessons that go far beyond sports or cinema. One of the core pillars of The Rock's philosophy is relentless hard work. He consistently emphasizes that talent alone is never enough. Through his social media posts, interviews, and motivational videos, he encourages people to push past discomfort, rise before dawn, and embrace challenges as stepping stones. His famous mantra, blood, sweat, and respect, reminds fans that respect is earned through effort, persistence, and resilience. Millions of people have found inspiration in this message, turning it into a personal motto for overcoming obstacles in their own lives. The Rock's connection with fans is unparalleled. He does not just entertain, he engages. He shares his life openly, including personal struggles such as bouts of depression, challenges of parenthood, and the pressures of fame. By doing so, he humanizes the image of success, showing that even someone who seems larger than life faces hardship. This transparency resonates deeply, making fans feel connected to him in a way few celebrities achieve. He uses humor, humility, and honesty to bridge the gap between Hollywood stardom and everyday life. Family is another key aspect of his legacy. Despite the relentless demands of his career, he places immense value on fatherhood and heritage. He often celebrates his Samoan roots, honoring the Anoa'i wrestling dynasty, while teaching his children the importance of culture, tradition, and respect. Through his words and actions, he demonstrates that success is not just measured by fame or wealth, but by the love, guidance, and impact you have on others. The Rock has also redefined what it means to be a multidimensional star. From wrestling to action films, comedy, animation, and even entrepreneurship, he has proved that adaptability, curiosity, and willingness to evolve are crucial for sustained success. Projects like Project Rock, $7 Productions, and his various charitable endeavors showcase his vision to use his platform to empower others, giving fans the chance to follow in his footsteps and realize their own potential. Motivationally, The Rock has inspired people to embrace discipline, resilience, and self-belief. Whether it's pushing through a tough workout, pursuing a career, or overcoming personal adversity, his life story demonstrates that hard work combined with unwavering self-confidence can transform circumstances. His journey shows that setbacks, from being cut from football, rejected by fans as Rocky Maivia, or enduring injuries, are not the end, but rather a test of persistence and mental strength. Beyond the lessons, The Rock's global impact is tangible. He has been recognized not just for his career achievements, but for the positive influence he exerts on culture, motivation, and representation. Children see a hero who overcame adversity. Young adults see a role model who embodies ambition and discipline, and people of all ages find inspiration in his example of resilience and authenticity. He is a testament to the idea that true success is measured not only by personal accomplishments, but by the lives you touch along the way. Ultimately, Dwayne Johnson's legacy will endure because it is built on hard work, authenticity, connection, and inspiration. From the challenges of his childhood and the failures of early football dreams to the struggles and triumphs of wrestling and Hollywood, The Rock's story reminds the world that greatness is earned through effort, humility, and the courage to embrace your own path. He is not just a star. He is a symbol of hope, motivation, and the power of relentless determination. Today, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson stands as one of the most recognized and respected figures in the world, a man who has transcended sports and entertainment to become a global icon. Yet, despite his immense fame, wealth, and accomplishments, he remains remarkably grounded, a reflection of the lessons learned from a childhood marked by struggle and resilience. His current life is a balance of family, business, creative endeavors, and giving back, all while continuing to inspire millions. Family continues to be at the center of Dwayne's life. He is a devoted father, often sharing moments with his children and emphasizing the importance of love, guidance, and teaching values. His social media accounts frequently highlight his role as a father, showing both playful interactions and profound lessons in discipline, respect, and humility. For Dwayne, family is a guiding force, a reminder of where he came from and why he works tirelessly every day. Beyond family, his business ventures have grown into a vast empire. Project Rock, the Under Armour collaboration, has become a global fitness brand, representing determination, hard work, and resilience. $7 Productions continues to produce blockbuster films and television projects, giving Dwayne creative control and the ability to bring inspiring stories to the world. Through these ventures, he has not only built personal wealth but also created opportunities for others in the industry, mentoring and hiring emerging talent along the way. Philanthropy is another cornerstone of The Rock's current life. He has donated millions to children's hospitals, educational programs, disaster relief efforts, and charities supporting military families. His charitable initiatives are often deeply personal, reflecting his understanding of struggle and his desire to help those facing challenges similar to those he experienced growing up. This side of him reinforces that his legacy is not defined solely by fame or money, but by positive impact and contribution to society. On the career front, Dwayne continues to dominate Hollywood with a mix of action-packed blockbusters, family-friendly films, and dramatic roles. Movies like Black Adam and Jungle Cruise showcase his ability to blend action, humor, and charisma in ways few actors can. Meanwhile, his involvement in producing ensures that he shapes the stories told on screen, using his influence to promote inspiring and entertaining narratives. The Rock also embraces the power of motivation and self-improvement. He regularly shares insights on discipline, overcoming adversity, and pursuing dreams relentlessly. From his early struggles with football failure, depression, and rejection, to his rise in wrestling and Hollywood, he embodies the principle that success is not final and failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Millions of people turn to him for inspiration, following his daily routines, motivational posts, and interviews to fuel their own journeys. Looking forward, Dwayne's vision extends beyond personal achievement. He seeks to empower others, whether through entertainment, business ventures, or philanthropy. He represents a model of what it means to rise above adversity, redefine yourself, and use your influence for positive impact. His life story continues to evolve, reminding the world that greatness is built not just on talent or luck, but on persistence, authenticity, and relentless effort. In essence, The Rock's current life is a testament to everything he has overcome. A boy who faced financial hardship, instability, and personal setbacks, transformed into a man who inspires millions, dominates entertainment, builds thriving businesses, and gives back to society with purpose. His story is far from over, and the world continues to watch as he writes the next chapters of a truly remarkable journey. The journey of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is a story of resilience, determination, and transformation. From a childhood filled with financial struggles, constant moves, and uncertainty, to a teenage life marked by anger and setbacks, he faced obstacles that could have stopped most people in their tracks. Yet, he refused to be defined by circumstance. Football gave him discipline, wrestling gave him a stage, and Hollywood gave him a global platform. But it was his relentless work ethic, courage to take risks, and unwavering belief in himself that truly shaped his destiny. The Rock's life teaches us that failure is not the end, but a stepping stone toward greatness. Being cut from a football team, being booed as Rocky Maivia, and facing countless setbacks in Hollywood could have ended his story. Instead, he used each challenge to grow, reinvent himself, and rise higher than ever before. His journey illustrates that no dream is too big, no obstacle too great, and no setback too permanent when you approach life with persistence, humility, and a clear sense of purpose. Today, Dwayne Johnson is more than a wrestling legend or Hollywood superstar. He is a role model, a motivator, and an inspiration to millions worldwide. Through his films, businesses, social media, and philanthropic work, he shows that true success is not just measured by fame or wealth, but by the positive impact you make, the people you inspire, and the legacy you leave behind. As we reflect on his story, one thing is clear. The Rock's journey reminds us that greatness is earned through blood, sweat, and respect, that hard work, resilience, and authenticity can take us from the darkest moments to the brightest stages. He embodies the idea that anyone, regardless of their beginnings, can achieve extraordinary success with determination and belief in themselves. If you've been inspired by this story, take a page from The Rock's book, work hard, embrace challenges, stay authentic, and never give up. And just like millions of fans around the world, keep believing that your own journey can lead to greatness. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss more incredible stories of people who have overcome adversity and achieved greatness. Like, comment, and share this video if The Rock's journey inspired you today. Remember, even the toughest beginnings can lead to extraordinary endings. Just ask The Rock.